Edition. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 5th edition of the DEPT Talks live. Today, we will talk about how we have launched Bugaboo in 4.5 months. My name is Tim de Kamper. I'm Director eCommerce at DEPT, based in Amsterdam. I'm sitting here together with Thomas Stegelmann from Bugaboo. Can you introduce yourself, Thomas?
Yeah. Hey, welcome, everybody. I'm heading up for Bugaboo eCommerce globally. Global brand. We're live in 25 different websites, going from Asia to Europe over to the US.
Thank you. Now, even though it's a virtual talks, we still have an audience. My colleague brought the unicorn duck with us, so he's here at least today. So before we talk about the case in depth, let's talk a little bit about Bugaboo. Can you tell us a bit about the history of Bugaboo and the digital challenges that you faced and you want us to solve with the case?
Absolutely. So Bugaboo is a company that existed for 20 years. We are in the business of selling strollers and the business of making parents happy. Over the last year, there has been quite a few changes within the Bugaboo organization. And the company decided to focus much more on the digital transformation within Bugaboo. That was relevant for us, for the e-commerce team, as well for the ETL team. And one of the big challenges, we wanted to really accelerate our capabilities that we had in the digital space. We came from a background with a lot of different systems, a lot of different data structures, a lot of different processes, an environment that has grown organically. And we really wanted to accelerate now our digital transformation.
Good. Now, that was a starting point. And then at a certain point, you made a decision to go for Salesforce Cloud. Why was that exactly?
So we are live in a very complex environment. And what do I mean by complexity? Bugaboo has 25 websites. We have various different languages. We have different currencies. We have products that have a certain complexity. It's not the typical fashion item. You can configure our products. We have payment providers, various systems that need to be integrated. So we required a solution that had enterprise capabilities. And for us, Salesforce Commerce Cloud was a very safe bet. We knew it supported multi-currency, multi-language. We knew it was able to handle traffic and load easily. We knew it was constantly being innovated. So for us, we really saw the opportunity with Commerce Cloud to really map this on our own digital transformation, to partner up with a company that has a similar idea about constantly innovating.
Okay, good. So that's where the decision out of Salesforce Commerce Cloud came from. And then, of course, you needed a partner to implement Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And you've chosen for DEPT. Can you tell us why you've chosen DEPT?
Exactly. This is the third time for me personally that I'm implementing Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And for me, the partner decision is extremely crucial for the success of a project like this. We had very tight deadlines. We had a very specific scope. And we needed to find a partner in crime that was willing to go onto that journey with us. We looked at various different partners, and for us, it was a mixture of the experience of that partner, the creativity of that partner, the physical location of that partner, and obviously also a little bit of a gut feeling with where do we feel there's the right mindset or the right attitude. For us, that was you guys.
Okay. Grateful for that. Now, let me tell you a little bit about that shortly. We are here to help clients reinvent and accelerate their digital business. And we do that by combining creativity, technology, and data. So we're a digital agency of more than 1,500 experienced thinkers and makers. And we're based in 13 countries, predominantly in the northwestern part of Europe. So these are some of the clients that we work for, but more interesting than these clients are, of course, the clients where we've implemented Salesforce Commerce Cloud as an e-commerce solution for the logos that you see here. So for these logos, we have done the project of implementing and integrating Salesforce Commerce Cloud backend systems. Now let's talk about the Bugaboo case specifically. We have defined 3 challenges for Bugaboo, and let's start with the first one. I think branding was, of course, a key thing. Bugaboo is a brand, as opposed to some of the retail customers that we have. We needed some exposure, and can you tell us about what the challenge was there exactly?
Exactly. So we are a brand. We are an old brand with 20 years. We have a very unique brand DNA, and we are operating in an environment where we really want to live our brand. We want to live our identity. So when you think about the consumer and their journey, it's a very long journey. Between the moment where you realize, hey, we are expecting a baby until the baby's there. Well, we all know that duration lasts approximately 10 months. And then there's this period, about 3 to 4 months, where the consumer really needs to make up their mind. And you need to imagine that the consumers have zero idea. Most of our consumers, never had a baby before. It's their first stroller. It's a field where they need to learn a lot. They need to get inspired. And at the very end, they need to purchase. So that long customer journey with all this knowledge that needs to be transferred, with all that insight you need to give, where you need to take away a little bit of that nervousness of the parents. This is crucial for us. Plus, we are a one-time purchase company. Relatively, you're not buying, like in fashion industry, a stroller every couple of weeks. No, we only have basically one opportunity to sell the consumer a stroller. So for us, that branded journey, that educating, inspiring, and the very end converting is crucial for the success of the project. And that was the first challenge we gave you guys. How can we make that journey to something exciting for the consumer?
Right. So therefore, the creatives work, the company came up with a specific customer journey path, which you can see here, and which takes specific attention to two kinds of product detail pages. One version, which we named the Explore PDP, is kind of the traditional category landing page, and the traditional PDP, which is allows you to add it to the basket and buy it directly. But even for that page, we'll look at it a bit later. We have extended it from the out-of-the-box Salesforce Commerce Cloud webshop, obviously. And on top of that, we decided to create an all-stroller page where people could explore more about the products that Bugaboo offers and the differences that they have. Now, let's zoom in on the Explore PDP, which I mentioned before. The Explore PDP focuses indeed on the customer who know that he needs to buy at least a stroller at a certain point in time, but needs to have more information on, what is fit for me based on the condition and his living circumstances that he faces. Now, as you can see, we've created and designed and implemented a lot of components telling the story about the Bugaboo products. And not only that particular stroller, but also the accessories that is accompanying that particular product. Now, this is an example of the Explore PDP ending up with a comparison component which highlights differences between the different products that Bugaboo has in its portfolio. Now, this is an example of the Buy PDP, which allows customers to add the product to the basket, make a selection of a color in advance, see the price and potentially a promotion accompanying it. But it's not only this particular head component which the Buy PDP exists of. You see a lot of more components, including videos, which highlight specific attributes and the differences of this product compared to the other ones. Now, Shop the Look, which also shows the imagery in the field of that particular product, and of course the specifications, which are very important for Bugaboo, but even more for the customer to see, okay, will it fit my alley, for example, that lives small, and can I work with it? We've also integrated Bazaar Voice for Bugaboo, where customers can leave out their reviews and rates on products, which help people make the buy decision. Now,
and I think what is interesting when you think about our industry, we are selling strollers. In the very end, we just have a handful of strollers, but they all come with very different features. So for us, it was super important that we have the ability to really differentiate the presentation of our products. A stroller that is made for twins is very different than a stroller that you use in the city. It's again very different than the stroller you use when you're traveling around. So that ability for us to compare products, but also really differentiate the product experience was really a crucial element of our website that we really wanted to make sure that you guys can cover for us.
Yeah. Now, I think one of the key things here, you see an example of the component that we've built to highlight the unique comparisons. But I think one of the crucial things in the project was making the decision to go for Page Designer. Page Designer was a new module at the time, was still in beta actually when we started the project, and which is, let's say, a content management tool on top of Salesforce Commerce Cloud, which allows content editors to visually drag and drop components on the canvas and really see a good preview of what they're actually doing, and to create these landing pages that you've just seen. And I think the unique thing here is that we not only use Page Designer for the traditional category landing pages and very much content-driven pages, but also more in the commercial pages like a product detail page, which we've seen, where a lot of those highlighted features and products are driven by Page Designer. Now, I think the key takeaways here that allows us to facilitate the branding aspect and the challenge that Bugaboo faced was creating a tool which allows you to create those landing pages in a flexible way. And we've had a lot of discussions where the out-of-the-box components of Page Designer were not as flexible as you wished for, and especially the requirement to allow those components to be used for several pages and several widgets and several landing pages made them very flexible. But of course it has a kind of a downside because there's a lot of variants that you can choose for a single component, but flexibility was key here. So custom pages, custom components that we built on top of Page Design.
I think the second challenge is that we are indeed a global business. So Bugaboo Online is going around the world, and we had a very short timeline for you guys. As we're working in an environment where multiple projects are happening at the same time, we needed to understand how does this project specifically fit into the wider roadmap of Bugaboo, where we have ERP changes to the middleware, etc. What we figured out that we only had a very small time window that we could get this done. If you would delay it any further, we would overlap with other projects that would interfere with going live on our website. So for us, the timeline was crucial to get it done. And again, 25 websites in such a short amount of time is quite a challenge.
It was a challenge indeed, but any challenge needs to be faced with the planning, of course. So we created a planning. Black Friday set as a milestone, and we want to go live 1 week in advance. And now that we had this conversation also with Salesforce, who frowned upon this planning, say, "Are you sure you want to go live just before Black Friday?" Which is, of course, peak season for any e-commerce partner. We did that. We created planning. We formed a team. Together with Bugaboo and the partners, and it's interesting to tell that it's, of course, not only DEPT and Bugaboo, but a lot of partners involved in making this whole project work. Can you tell a little bit about that?
I think I needed, at some point I was counting the number of agencies and people involved during the peak moment of the project, and I counted, I believe, 8 or 9 different agencies and over 50 people working in parallel on this project. For us, we knew we wanted to go live before Black Friday, because we didn't trust enough the old website to keep up with the demand during Black Friday. So for us, Black Friday was a crucial date to get done. But in order to get this done, we also needed to think slightly different how to handle the project. So what was amazing that we had the ability to embed some of our developers with DEPT, so that they were part of the project team with the DEPT. They were working together with DEPT. They were learning on the fly how to work with Salesforce, which is helping us to increase the speed and the learning curve for us. But for example, what I also really enjoyed is we brought in some external experts in here, people who have done projects like this before, to just bring in more knowledge in different aspects and the knowledge in there. And that SWAT team of different disciplines from different backgrounds were had all the dictate, guys, we need to go live before Black Friday, whatever it takes.
Yeah, so that was indeed a very crucial point in the success, I think. Making sure that, first of all, you invest in sales commerce cloud specialist at the client side, so at Bugaboo side. We avoided extensive dialogues around how should we exactly form the catalog and the product data model, and what attributes are the standard ones, what customer attribute we need. A lot of those things didn't require that lengthy discussions that we normally have with customers, because the concepts were already understood, and that helped enormously.
Exactly. So the core project team, we had 4 people, including myself, 3 external people that all had years of experience in working in Commerce Cloud. And we really wanted to make sure that on the Bugaboo side, we're building up that knowledge as fast as possible. So they were doing trainings already before the official trainings were coming in, all with the objective to keep basically the back of Bugaboo free of those annoying questions where, I don't know where I need to click. We wanted to make sure that DEPT could focus on the stuff that you guys are good at, that is developing amazing websites. We didn't want to force you guys down into educating us how does actually Commerce Cloud work.
Yeah, so that helped enormously. And then, as you mentioned already, we embedded Bugaboo front-end developers in our team to speed up the process. Had a bit of a learning curve, of course, but in the end it paid off enormously with all the rich components that needed to be created. We also had a member which we decided to replace. It's a hard decision sometimes, but we took it, and in the early stages you can still allow and afford to do that, and which was a good decision in the end, absolutely. And we also adopted agility in a way that we said making sure that the timelines are met is more important than making sure that the complete feature scope is in place.
And I think especially the agility I experienced that very nicely because we were such a combined team. It was not that we were meeting once a week and then I would get the feedback what happened in the week, because our developers were embedded with you guys. We were very much in sync throughout the entire project about what's happening on the Bugaboo side, what is happening on your side. We had a very high amount of communication in between, which just helped us to really go a lot quicker through the learning, through the decision making, instead of always waiting, when is the next catch up.
Yeah. And aside from some project accelerators, we also defined some key accelerators which we think made the success of the project. First of all, you were already working with LiveWords as a translation engine, and of course, without a translation provider, we couldn't have delivered 25 countries in 14 languages with the speed that we did. Can you tell us a little bit about LiveWords in that sense?
So LiveWords has been our long-term partner for translations. We have been using them for extensive period already. And of course, when you think about the amount of translations that need to happen in a project like this, where there's new copy in the checkout, you're rewriting some of the existing copy for the new website, you're migrating content, you're adopting things, you know that you're facing a bottleneck there. So for us, it was crucial that we would build this integration with LiveWords, that we could just push our translations quickly. And I was always afraid that we would need to get a lot of interns onto the job to copy-paste translation. I was like, if that is going to happen, we are just going to be doomed, because there's too many things happening and things will go wrongly. So by making sure we get this integration live, we just knew, hey, we can push through the translations quickly. We don't need to worry about the amount of translations. LiveWords can basically reduce that backlog of translations instantly.
Yeah, it helps enormously, and we had to put some additional effort in making sure that also the page designer components could work with LiveWords, as the format is there saved in Salesforce was a bit different than the standard ones.
That was obviously one of the pain points. If you go with something that is yet in beta, you know that some of the standard functionality doesn't work as easy as you expected. So that was one of the things that I knew that might be a little bit challenging. How do we get translation to a feature that's not yet officially part of Salesforce? But with a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of customization, we got it done. Not absolutely perfect, but good enough to get us to the launch date. And that was more than sufficient. And we fixed a few things afterwards.
Yeah. And then some other things I think are worth mentioning. We decided to have a shared catalog around all those countries instead of a specific catalog, so that whenever we needed to change or add a product, we didn't need to do it all the time for all the countries and the sites. We also had a shared library, which allows us still to make that differences based on the segmentation, the campaigning that Salesforce allows, but still have one unique content library so that every component is directly available in all countries instead of duplicating it where needed.
And as you speak about the catalog, I think what really helped us to hit the timeline is that we also decided to change Bugaboo's product data model around at the same time. So we know that obviously Salesforce Commerce Cloud has a certain way how Commerce Cloud is thinking about the products, and the Bugaboo way before Commerce Cloud had a very different product data structure. Now, we could have obviously agreed to say, oh, we are going to adopt Commerce Cloud to the Bugaboo way of product data, but I was not really in favor of that decision, because that would have limited us very much on what we can do with Salesforce Commerce Cloud, because once you customize, you're limiting your capabilities a little bit. So we decided, part of this project, to also redo our entire product data model, which was basically a project running. It was part of this project, but running with yet again a different agency. And we basically ensured that the new product data model was really mapped around the capabilities of Commerce Cloud, which was another risk that we took, but we knew that we were going to be better off in the long run, because we needed to do less customization on the Commerce Cloud side.
Yeah, there's some more about that indeed in the next challenge, and that's interesting to hear. And then we decided to go live with Adyen as a payment provider and support all the payment methods that will need to be supported, also the ones like PayPal directly through Adyen. And we decided to go live in a big bang, meaning that we did not do a phased go-live approach with a certain section of countries at a certain time. We decided to go live with all countries at once. How did you feel about that risk when the decision was made?
The original plan was to do a phased launch, and I think we need to be clear here. But there was also just the pure reality that we realized that the old platform was end of life. So if we would have gone with a phased approach, we could have done it, and we would have extended the lifetime of the old platform a little bit, but the old platform was already at a state that it was hardly manageable for us anymore. So the one thing I said, hey, we're actually going to win by doing a global launch, because we don't need to rely on the old platform anymore. Second thing that was crucial for us in the entire discussion, that we've done a lot of testing up front. So I felt pretty comfortable with the situation. It was not that there were like 15 construction sites still open, but when we were coming closer and closer to the launch date and we were testing different things, yes, there were a few visual things that might not be right, but overall we were in a pretty good state. And that was for me then yet another reason to say, actually we can really go live in a big bang. And because we are a global business and we have 5 different warehouses and all those different integrations, obviously running 2 different technology stacks in parallel without interfering is also quite complex. If you're saying, hey, Europe is all out of one warehouse, and if you want to split that half of Europe into Commerce Cloud and half of Europe into the other platform, you need to think about how do you split the inventory, how does your middleware take on different order formats, etc. So also for that reason, we were like, you know what, let's just go live with a big bang, and it worked out perfectly.
Yeah. And of course, it saves time because it's more efficient, as you don't need to do a phased migration of URLs,
Exactly.
Customers, etc. We could have one platform switch at nighttime,
Exactly.
and then we're in there. Okay, then the last challenge: selling complex products online.
Exactly. When you guys think about a stroller, it's unfortunately not as easy as you want to make. When you're buying a stroller, technically what you're buying is multiple different products that you can put together, and they make your full stroller. Imagine a little bit like IKEA. Put the right things into your basket, you get a full shelf, and if you put only the wrong things in your basket, you get half a shelf and half a cupboard. When you look at our website, it feels like you're buying a stroller. Technically, in the background, we needed to do some nice things to Commerce Cloud, where you as a consumer, you believe you're buying one product, but in the background, you're buying 2 or 3 different products. And that obviously is a little bit of complexity that we gave over to you guys, where we asked you, hey, please make it easy for us that that the consumer believes they're selling a full product, that we're selling them a full product, although it's 3 different products in one.
Yeah. So we had a thought about that. We had quite some internal discussions about how to do that, and we looked at product sets, we looked at product bundles, we looked at product recommendations to make the relationship between, let's say, parent and child products. And at the end, we decided to go with bundles, and that allowed us to, with some customization, to dynamically calculate the price, for example, based on the lower level products. Also, the inventory, which is a standard feature in Salesforce, is determined based on the inventory of the lower level products. But here the challenge was even bigger, because it was not just a plain product bundle, it was actually variations of product bundle, because each color of a certain stroller was its own bundle. And then some products within a bundle could even be bundles below. So therefore it was a hierarchy of product data complexity. But we're all, let's say, we made a model, we created a proof of concept, and in the end it worked out, and it also allowed us to create a product configurator, where there's, apart from the standard stroller, there's more to configure in terms of the chassis, the wheels, the bassinet, etc.
And I think what was for us as Bugaboo really exciting in this early period when we were speaking about, hey, how should we structure those products? Should we do bundles or sets? There was not only discussion between DEPT and Bugaboo, but also Salesforce themselves contributed in this period to make sure we really get the best solution out of here. What we were initially very afraid of that we would go down one route with a lot of customization, and then afterwards we would realize, now we are down to one corner and we can't get out of that corner. But I think that discussion where we brought again Salesforce together, DEPT together, Bugaboo, but also some of our external parties that we have involved, we're always sitting together and playing around, like, how can we make this work? That was for me yet again a sign that very early in the project I was feeling like, yeah, that is moving in the right direction. I agree with the model, I agree with the approach, that looks solid. And of course, there were a few surprises along the way as those projects go, but we knew that we were able to do it. There was never a moment where I was like, oh shit, we are going to go down. It's never going to happen. We always knew we would be able to pull that off.
Yeah, which is very important, of course. So we did not have the time to revert in those decisions. So we radically changed the data model indeed in the end. We leveraged the bundle concept of Salesforce and decided to do a PIM in River implementation in parallel. That was, of course, a separate project, bit of outside of DEPT context. However, we knew that we needed to get the catalog XML in the end. How was that? I have a lot of discussion with customers saying, should we do that in parallel? Should we do it phased? What was your point of view there?
So within Bugaboo, we didn't have a lot of knowledge about Salesforce Commerce Cloud. So the key stakeholders in the decision making within Bugaboo, they didn't know how the product data model would need to look like for Commerce Cloud. So one of the first decisions we took was, okay, we're going to bring somebody external in who has done that for other companies at a larger scale that can help us to have the right discussions early on. And it was very clear from the beginning is that the existing product data model could not be easily met to Commerce Cloud product data model. And again, I was also very keen on not changing the way how Commerce Cloud thinks about product. I mean, we could have done tons of customization to Commerce Cloud to reproduce our data model, but I argued, hey, our data model right now is already so weak. I don't want to take this weakness into the Rolls-Royce, the Ferrari of commerce products out there. So we very early knew it needs to happen, and we knew we wanted to hit it in. We want to merge it with this project, because if you're changing everything at the same time, you don't want to say, you know what, we're not changing the product data model, because then you need to do the work later on anyway. So for us, it was like, you know what, let's change everything at the same time, because otherwise it's just going to drag on for eternity. And I know from, I think, DEPT's point of view, you guys were very nervous about that, which I fully understand. But I think there was a lot of conversations, where we just provided the confidence, we're going to make it, don't worry about it. And we hit it as planned.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend that this decision. If you guys think about, hey, I need to re-platform from my old system to the new system, think about all the input data. Is the current way how you're structuring your data, how you're modeling your data, how you're building your relationship is still going to work with the new system? Because what I think you should avoid is taking on a bad data structure into a new system.
Yeah. Okay. Then that was the last challenge. What were the results, Thomas? Can you say something about that?
Exactly. So the first thing that was crucial for us as Bugaboo was hitting this timeline, because we knew there were so many things happening in parallel, and we went live exactly as planned. I mean, this was for us the crucial thing, and we made it happen. Did we go live with everything that we planned for? Absolutely not. But that was also part of our planning. We knew we wouldn't get everything done. But we got the data model right, we got the website right, we got the branding right. That was really, really, really amazing for us. That was something that doesn't happen too often. But going live in time is one thing. I bet you guys want to know a little bit, hey, is that really paying off? So a week later, we went live with Black Friday. Now you need to imagine that everybody in Bugaboo just is getting used to working with Commerce Cloud. And Black Friday was the biggest day we ever had. The website didn't went down. Everything went live as we planned. There were, as usual, a few hiccups that you have when you have an entire new organization working with a new platform. But for us, doubling the sales was just amazing. And it was not a major pain for us. We were not nervous. We went with a lot of confidence into Black Friday. So for us, absolutely great to see those results, seeing those orders coming in, seeing consumers buying, using the platform. Wow, I mean, could have ended very differently. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And then last week was a cheerful moment, right?
Exactly. So being a brand, that is putting a lot of emphasis on the experience for the consumer. It was also acknowledged to us by us winning in the category eCommerce at the Spin Awards. Unfortunately, it didn't happen in physical, but virtual. But when you think about our business, going live in time for a project is great. Making the revenue is also great. But also getting an award for the experience that we have built for our customers and being recognized that all the work that all the different departments from DEPT to Bugaboo, all the different departments within Bugaboo, that all this work is also being recognized to say, hey, this is a really cool experience. This is great work that you've done. It's obviously a little bit the cherry on top of on the cake to also see, hey, yes, it is being recognized that we've done a great job here.
Yeah, it was great to see. And then I think the platform now is able to facilitate unique experience. Like 2-3 weeks ago, we've launched the new Fox 2 landing page. Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I'm always saying a little bit that Bugaboo is like the Apple of strollers. And when you look at our products, they are really, really amazing products. If you talk to our engineering team and you see all those details they put into our products, the way how they are constructed, the way how they are designed, the kind of things they think about that a parent needs to know about the product, it's there's so much love in that, and we wanted to use Bugaboo.com as a platform to tell the same story. And one of our key features was for this project that we have the ability to really create those unique experience that really bring the consumer basically in front of our designers and our engineering teams and make them feel that. And this was now the first landing page where we really created this super unique experience, totally custom built for the stroller. And yet again, we had 2 days where we blew the sales through the roof. The consumers were so excited about the product. They've been waiting for that. And all of that while Corona was going on. I mean, we couldn't be more happier. Our consumers couldn't be more happier. We launched, it was an instant success, great feedback. Products were shipped the next day, which again, for us, makes us happy that we are making parents happy with our products.
Yeah. That's a great, unique experience. Okay, let's round off with the key takeaways I think want to give for the project, the Bugaboo case. So I think we've highlighted 3 of the ones that we've seen earlier. Invest in Salesforce Commerce Cloud specialist in-house is the customer side, I think, was crucial, at least from my part, the success.
I think this is one of the most important things. I mean, if you think about Commerce Cloud, it's an enterprise solution. I mean, I don't know, think of a Formula One car. Yes, I know how to drive a car, but if you would put me in a Formula One car, I would not be able to go more than 2 meters because I would kill the engine, because a Formula One car is so complex. And I think a lot of consumers just underestimate the power that Commerce Cloud brings. And if you're buying it, you think, oh, perfect, I'm just going to get an agency without knowing actually all the functionality, it's quite difficult to get the most out of the platform. So for me, from the beginning, it was very clear that we need to upgrade our internal knowledge so that we can have an eye-on-eye conversation as well. That is why we had this shared development team where I brought developers from the Bugaboo side into your team, so that they could have on the tech side the discussion. This is why we brought external knowledge into Bugaboo to train the business people also to really make sure are we getting the most of the platform instead of wasting time on learning the basics. If you do that, I think you're going to not only save cost, you're also going to save time, and you're going to make the success rate of the project so much higher.
Yeah, crucial to success. And then, of course, we said that make scope relative, and where timelines are important. There's, of course, some buttons where you can push on, you can turn to allow at least for a successful project. And together we are able to make the correct decisions, priorities, and then it's okay. Let's focus on making sure that the timeline is met.
Exactly. In my opinion, if you think about any kind of project, you need to manage your scope. So what is the work that we want to get done? You need to manage your resources. What are the money and the people that we want to spend on the project? And what are your timelines? And any good project manager needs to understand there's obviously a relationship. If we suddenly increase the scope, it means either you need to pay more, or it's going to be more time, or you need to drop something else. So for us, it was super. We at Bugaboo, obviously, we had a very long wish list of things that we wanted to get done. But we were also very honest to ourselves that we knew that we are going to ask for a lot, knowing that most likely not everything is going to make it. But it's also super important that this is also clearly within the business teams that they understand. Yes, you can ask for a lot, but it doesn't mean that everything comes for go live. And I mean, we all should not forget, I mean, development doesn't end with go live. I mean, we all should be constantly thinking about, okay, what is the next thing that the consumer needs? What is the next thing we want to focus on? What is generating value for the customer? And we don't know this. We didn't know all the stuff that we wanted to get done after go live when we started with the project. So for us, it was really, let's keep on our feet. Let's be agile. Let's move from the left to the right when we realize, things need to move. And just don't stick to the project plan because you agree to do something. Just don't stick for the sake of sticking to it. Be flexible, be agile, listen to the consumer, listen to your partners so that you can make the project into a success.
Yeah. And then the last thing is Space Designer, of course. We talked about that, of course. And I think it's also interesting to mention that we tweaked the planning as well a bit. We would normally start with the most difficult things in the project, meaning integrations with backend systems, making sure that the order management integration works, with the PIM integration, etc., and the payments. Here we started with Space Designer because it was new, but also because we knew that the Space Designer templates, components that we've created were needed way before go live by your content team in order to fill them and get them translated in time and have it all ready.
Exactly. I mean, for us, Page Designer was a shortcut to get to creativity because content managers can suddenly create completely new landing pages from scratch. It's not the usual way, like, I have an idea and now I need to put in a change request and then you wait until this is being prioritized and then 6 months later the job is done. Now we have the flexibility. If I want today a landing page live in the United Kingdom that speaks about a certain event, the content manager just goes in there and they drag and drop the different components, the video, the image, the text, the copy, the CTAs into the layout, and the page is live. But I mean, you're completely right. We needed to have all of this work done before because there's a lot of branding that goes into those pages. And then that you need to obviously go through a lot of discussions about, hey, what is the right branding? Are the font sizes right? Are the colors right? And all of that. but also all the content obviously needs to be maintained, it needs to be translated, it needs to be tested, which is in the very end takes much more time than, for example, an integration of a payment method, where you say, yes, if there's an issue, you don't rely on maybe 3, 4, 5 different parties that are going to give feedback on it. So this is where we really changed the project plan massively around within the project, because we realized, no, actually we should do this much earlier than maybe some of the other things. And of course, it makes sometimes you nervous when you think something like a key component like payment methods, we only did towards the end of the project. But it would have, if we wouldn't have done that, we would have done the content towards the end of the project, we wouldn't have gotten live, because we would have been missing translations, content, it wouldn't have been properly tested. So yeah, you're juggling quite a few balls, and you need to keep an eye on all of those balls, but then you can make it into a success easily.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. So that was the last slide. Let's see if there's any questions from the audience that could answer. So, okay, we have a question from Vitaly. It's a question for you, Thomas. Hello, Thomas. Could you explain a bit your experiences with Commerce Cloud pricing? Because it seems for me pretty intransparent.
So it's software as a service. Salesforce Commerce Cloud has a revenue share model where they take a share of your revenue as a percentage. And this is something that you need to negotiate with your salesperson. Now, personally, I'm actually quite a big fan of that model, because it is in Salesforce Commerce Cloud interest to get the most out of you guys. The more revenue we make as a business, the more revenue Salesforce is doing with us. But those negotiations take time, and they have various ways of doing with that. In the very end, for us at Bugaboo was a discussion about what are the current costs that we have, the total cost of ownership, which is the new cost of ownership. For us, it was a relatively easy decision.
Yeah. And the subsequent question, a bit sensitive perhaps, and also approximate expenses for platform implementation with a partner like us. He says, I know it's very sensitive information, so really appreciate every hint you can give. Well, maybe you could tell about, because you organized a pitch, you've asked multiple partners for pricing. Was that way different from what you've seen, or was it close? And
I think the crucial piece is when you as a business think about moving to Commerce Cloud, you will need an implementation partner. You need to have an agency that is building the website on top of Commerce Cloud. And unless you have your own team and they know Commerce Cloud, there's no way of going around with that. But obviously, the price tag really depends on what you are asking for. If you ask for a simple house with a simple roof, it's cheap. But if you ask for a villa with pool and 5 garages and 10 bedrooms, it's going to be more expensive. So there's not one or the other answer. From my experience talking to a lot of other customers, any project of Commerce Cloud starts somewhere around 300,000 euros, which gets you your payment provider, that gets you some nice features. The design is going to be customized for you. But if you're coming in there and say, I need to have heavy customization here, I need to have this integration, all of that is going to get the price ticket up. But it's an enterprise solution, and it costs.
Thank you.
Coming to your second question. Yes, we went through different agencies. The offers are roughly all the same because the rate for a developer, and we looked for agencies that were physically close to the Bugaboo office because we had such a short period of time. We knew that we wanted to spend a lot of time on site with the agencies. So we looked at Netherlands and Belgium in here. Obviously, you can also look at agencies that are located offshore, Ukraine or wherever. That is obviously also a key takeaway if you think about pricing. Where do you feel more comfortable going with? For us, looking here in the European room, especially in the Benelux room, they all had more or less the same price tag. And I think in the decisions, again, there's something that's quite important. It's just how do you feel that you have a good partner in crime? I have spent time with agencies that would love to do hours and hours of paperwork, and you never got something done. And all of those kind of things play a crucial role how much you're going to pay in the very end.
Yeah. Then we have a question from Johanneke de Moor. How did you manage SEM? What were the key learnings?
So if we speak just about paid marketing, luckily we had a team that was taking care of that. For Go Live, we paused all of the advertising as we're doing as we're making sure that platform was running up and stable. And then we did our testing. Are all the redirects working as expected? Is all the products showing that are supposed? And as soon as as our checklist was good and green, then we slowly started to turn on the marketing again. That was actually not on the day of the launch, but I think the day after we already started again with our paid media marketing. For SEO, it always takes a little bit more time until you understand really the impact of that. If you look in your Google Search Console, you can obviously see how often Google is crawling your website. And it took Google, I think, somewhere 2 to 3 weeks before Google started to ramp up the crawling, because Google realized, hey, wait a moment, there's a new website. And then if you look at the amount of pages and URLs that we have, it took Google actually quite some time before they indexed the entire page, but the key pages were indexed, I think, within a few days. When you were looking at the homepage, etc., that took Google, I think, 2 days or 3 days before we saw those changes already reflected.
Yeah. Okay. Then we got a question from Shalin from Salesforce. Hi, Thomas. You mentioned Salesforce Commerce Cloud being a Formula One car. How did you train the team to drive the Formula One car? And how will you keep taking seconds of every lap pit stop?
I would argue the things that we did good was indeed bringing in knowledge early from external sources that it could do that would train our team on site. So we had every day of the week there were freelancers in our office that had plenty of experience. They would sit down with content management team, with the team responsible for promotions, with the product team, and they were just constantly showcasing certain things. I'm a big fan of the official documentation of Salesforce, because I think Salesforce is providing very, very good documentation. If you stick to the standard Salesforce and you don't customize too much, I would argue that 80% of the questions can be answered by going to the official documentation. And there's a lot of learning platforms around it. And the third thing is we just push people into the cold water. I think initially they're like, okay, they knew it's coming. They didn't spend that much time on. But when we spoke about, for example, hey, we need to set up new content pages instead of asking you guys from DEPT, hey, can you please create those new content pages? We actually said, hey, content team, you anyway need to learn it. So you guys are going to create those landing pages now. And suddenly people were like, all right, let's get our fingers dirty. And that, the last couple of weeks, as usual, are the most stressful ones. This is where the learning curve then really went through the roof, because suddenly people understood really how everything was, what was working. So get the knowledge in, use the official documentation, get people early on doing stuff themselves.
Good. Okay. Let's see if we have another question. A question from Ismahan. Which area should a digital marketeer focus on now and onwards? So digital marketeer, what should be the focus area?
If we speak about a project like this, or...
Doesn't mention, but let's assume so.
All right. Commerce Cloud comes again with tons of functionality, from coupon codes to landing pages. You can schedule landing pages. You have tons of content things, customer groups available. I would argue this should be super exciting to think about new concepts. How can you leverage some of the functionality around it? I think also page designers constantly being updated. Now you can schedule certain components to go live at a certain period, which again is great when you think about, hey, I need to have a landing page and I want to have like maybe a waiting status, and then you want to have the go live status. You can schedule and test all of that. I find this super exciting. I also think there's a lot of data and insights sitting with Commerce Cloud that you get out of it, which is another great thing. If you think there's a lot of insights, how are people using the website, that come out of the analytics from Commerce Cloud, which I think is, again, super insightful as a marketeer to just get the fingers dirty. I think the SEO features that Salesforce brings along are already quite powerful by default. You still want to do a little bit of customization depending on your product data model. But I think just SEO is a subject I think you could spend easily a week on Commerce Cloud to really make sure you get the most out of it.
Yeah. And then there might be a bit difference between, let's say, a brand like Bugaboo, with a limited number of products in the catalog, apart from all these parts, of course, and a retailer who has more than 20,000 SKUs, of course, in the catalog, where merchandising is perhaps a bit more important than for Bugaboo.
Exactly. I used to work at Adidas with 6,000 products live on the website. So for example, the search function is gold because everybody goes first to the search function to figure out the product that they want. And this is again for every business. Obviously, depends on the nature of your business, which features are relevant. We are not using all the features of Salesforce because they're not all relevant for our business. It's also you need to be also honest. Hey, this feature makes sense, and this one doesn't make sense for us.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Any more questions? Question from Ellen. Hi, Thomas. Did you set up a business case before rolling out to all shops? And can you tell us a little bit how you did that?
Yeah. Yes, we needed to have a full business plan. That a project like this, you don't do it because you're thinking it's fun. And for me, this is, in a simplified way, this is a return of investment. What are you spending on your current platform? What does it get you, not only in revenue, but also in terms of functionality, and where does the company want to go? So when we are looking at this, I was looking at what are the systems we have available, what are the processes we have available, what is the systems available, what are the people we have available, what is the strategy of the business, and then you start thinking a little bit, okay, what does the setup that we have in terms of people, systems, and data, does it match the roadmap ahead? If not, what do you need to invest to make it happen? If yes, how much, and also how much does it cost to keep it all alive? So we ran the numbers, and for us it was very clear we cannot achieve what we want to achieve in that environment we were in. And we were not able to get there by just tweaking one or two things. We realized we needed to change the majority of the systems, the majority of the processes, the majority of the data structure. We needed to get a shift in the people on the people side as well around it, and we also needed to carefully look at the strategy. So we could have also said, I'm just changing the product data model, but if every system around the product data model then also needs to change, you're again ending up at a super big bill that you need to pay. So for us, it was in the very end, the total cost of ownership was cheaper and therefore we got the re-platform approved.
Okay. Thank you. Then an interesting question around, this is a question to both of us. Is creating a website on top of Salesforce Commerce Cloud similar to creating a Salesforce community? Now,
that is rather for you than for me.
So Salesforce Community is a very different product than Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And I think it's good to mention that within Salesforce Commerce Cloud, there's two flavors, actually. You have a B2C variant and you have a B2B variant. Now, the B2B variant is closer to Community Cloud. It's actually built on top of Community Cloud and Sales Cloud. But still, the difference is enormous. I think, first of all, technology. Sales Commerce Cloud B2C is built on top of Demandware, different technology stack than Sales Community Cloud. But what we see is that Community Cloud is more leveraged in terms of allowing your partners or your biggest customers to create quotes and have a self-service portal to see whatever transactions have been made and ask for proposals. So it doesn't really offer, let's say, a basket and a checkout out of the box and plugins with payment providers, because it's mostly done with pay on account. So also billing steps is very, very different. So in terms of dealing with the catalog, Community Cloud is not very well, but Community Cloud is, of course, doing a great job in creating a forum accompanying with your products. So, for example, if you want to start up a discussion around products or categories, then that's the Community Cloud is a good way to go, or also more and more in B2B cases. So, okay, I think that should be the end of the questionnaire. We need to round up. I'd like to thank you very much, Thomas, for doing this interview kind of session. I enjoyed it very much. Also, I'd like to thank you from the doc that has been watching us all the time. And if there's any more questions, people can reach out to us, and we might deal with it offline in a later stage.
Also, thank you very much from my side. It's obviously a little bit awkward in these days to have those kind of conversations where you don't see your audience besides our little rubber ducky over there. But I hope that everybody found it quite useful. For us, this was an amazing project. I think with you guys, we found a very good partner that was really helping us in that journey. So it was a pleasure, obviously, talking a little bit about this. I think for everybody on the call, again, it's, this was quite a unique case where we had a strong timeline that we needed to push through. But I think if you guys plan this in the right way and you have the right mindset, I think everybody can do this. You just need to plan accordingly for it and get the right partner, of course.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.